I'm excited to share these recipes with you today. If you're new here, I'm Amy. I'm a wife and a mom to two young toddlers, and I love to share when I'm cooking for my family. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm making dinners for our family as well as some freezer meals for my sister. She's actually currently, as I'm filming this, in the hospital getting ready to have her baby. So I'm doing some meals for her so that she can freeze them and have them whenever she needs them or wants to use them. So if my sister's watching this, hi, I'm really excited for you and to meet your new baby. And let's talk a little bit about the recipes. So I will share WW points if that interests you, and I'll show you how we're having them for dinner and how I'm going to freeze them if it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to do kind of a variety of things like a pasta, meatloaf, like homemade flatbread pizzas, some cookie dough bites, things like that. But let's go ahead and get cooking. First, I'm making some cookie dough bites, and I'm not showing the whole process, but this recipe is from Health Nut Nutrition. I find quite a few recipes from her that I really like, but these just kind of have like peanut butter, syrup, vanilla extract, old-fashioned oats, flax seeds, and then I just roll them up in a ball and they freeze really well. They're 3 points each, and I'll leave the recipe link below. I love a good sauce, and so I was kind of researching what I should make, and I saw peanut sauce. So I figured that would be a really great thing to freeze and just add just a few basic ingredients to it to make it really tasty. I'm making it for my sister again, and then one for us for dinner tonight. But here are all the ingredients. This is some brown sugar, peanut butter. I love this peanut butter. If you've never had it before, it's just amazing peanut butter. I like it with the salt probably a little bit better, but the texture is great. It's a little bit more runny than like a Skippy's or a Jiffy peanut butter. So it's great if you want to like drizzle it over an apple or banana. I don't have rice wine vinegar, so I'm using apple cider vinegar. Hopefully that works out well. I think it should. Tomorrow you could use a soy sauce instead. I don't have fresh ginger or garlic, so I'm using ground for both. I have some lime that I'm going to use the juice of, and then some water. I have this, it's vegetable stir fry, and I'm going to use that to give to my sister. And then for us, I have this cucumber, so I'm just going to very thinly slice this cucumber and use that. It'll be good with carrots too. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the time to shred up some carrots, but I thought this would be great. So it's only a few ingredients if you want to freeze it. It's just spaghetti, the sauce, and then the frozen veggie mix. And then for us, I'm going to do the cucumber, the sauce, and the spaghetti. So I'm just adding the peanut butter first. I'm really excited about this recipe. I used to go out to eat at I don't know if it was a stir-fry noodle place, but it was super, super good when I worked. Now I stay at home with my kids, but I'm excited to kind of recreate something like that. That's where I got the idea for the cucumbers. But I am doubling this recipe, so I've put in the peanut butter. This is the tamari. Now I'm adding in the vinegar, the brown sugar. The recipe does say if you're using sweetened peanut butter to maybe reduce the amount of brown sugar, but I used just unsweetened peanut butter. It's just peanuts. So I'm going to use the entire amount. I forgot to show this earlier, but I don't actually have any chili garlic sauce, so I'm just going to add in some sriracha. And if you don't have one of these things, I love it. It's like a lemon squeezer, but you can squeeze limes in it too. You can squeeze oranges in there too if you cut them up a little bit smaller. But since I'm doubling the recipe and I don't want to measure it out in a separate bowl, I'm just going to add the entire lime. This is a small lime. Okay, I'm going to add in the garlic. I'm not measuring the garlic and the ginger just because it calls for fresh, and that's not what I have. So I'm just going to dump some in and I'll give it a taste to see if it needs any additional flavor. Then I'm going to add in a little bit of water. This definitely needs more water. It's just pretty thick. It's still really thick, as you can see, but I think I'm actually going to leave it this thick because I think it'll be better to freeze this way. This is really good. So I added more ginger, more garlic, and actually a little bit more tamari. So now I'm going to separate this out in 2 different containers and go ahead and slice up that cucumber. I think it'll be pretty easy to tell when I'm doing voiceovers because I'm a little bit under the weather, but I did slice up all those cucumbers, and since I'm not cooking this up until later, I just put it in like a towel lined bowl so that way it'll kind of collect some of the water. I did end up cutting up some carrot as well. Here are the components for our dinner tonight. I did use a half a pound of pasta and then the veggies, the peanut sauce, and I just had a recipe for the sauce itself. So you could definitely just use like the frozen veggies like I'm giving to my sister. But I'm going to go ahead, cook the pasta, save some of that pasta water once it's cooked, just because the sauce was so thick. Now let's go ahead and put everything together. So I drained the rest of the water off, added in the veggies, added in the sauce. Then I put that reserved pasta water in there, gave it a really good stir. As I mentioned, I only had a recipe for the sauce, so I'll include the link to the recipe for the sauce as well as the other ingredients that I used to make the peanut noodles. I love peanut noodles. They're really tasty and they're just really satisfying if you want something sweet with a little bit of spice. It was 12 points for a fifth of that entire pot and really tasty. And in case you're wondering if you can freeze peanut sauce, according to Google, you can. So I'm giving it a try for this recipe, but it seems like it would be a really nice thing if you want to do a tiny bit of cooking, but just have something tasty and really easy to throw together from the freezer. To start on the meatloaf, I actually have this. This is carrot, onion, and celery that's chopped up from a different recipe. It's already sauteed, so I'm going to add that in for just some extra veggies and because I have some left. And then I'm going to chop up this onion. I'm going to start assembling all of the ingredients in here for the meatloaf now. So I have the onions that we just chopped up together. And just because I have them, I'm adding in these sauteed veggies like I mentioned. And I also am doubling the recipe. So now I'm going to add in some eggs. Garlic powder. I don't have any fresh garlic cloves, but that would be really good if you wanted to use that. I'm going to add a lot just because I'm putting in 4 pounds of meat. I'm going to add in some ketchup and some parsley. And I'm using breadcrumbs. I'm just using these ones that I got from Trader Joe's. Some milk, some salt. This is Italian seasoning, some pepper, paprika. I added in the meat. I'm just going to give it a really good mix and go ahead and bake it at 375. And now I'm going to make this really interesting sauce. I was really excited about this. So it's ketchup, vinegar, brown sugar, garlic, onion powder, which I didn't have, so I left that out, black pepper, and salt. It was kind of like a more delicious and flavorful ketchup. So now that the meatloaf is cooked, I'm just going to add all of that sauce on top and smooth it out, and then it's going to go back in the oven to bake. One of those meatloafs went right into the freezer. I cut it in half, and I did it in 2 1-pound portions. And I served ours with some potatoes and green beans that I cooked up. The last recipe I'm making it for us for dinner and to freeze are some sourdough flatbreads. I've made this recipe before. We love it. You could definitely just buy like pizza crust. We really like making non-pizzas, something like that. But I do have sourdough. I actually just made my own sourdough starter. So if you're interested, I can give you the recipe for that. I just found it online. But yeah, so we're making this non-pizzas. It's a great thing to freeze as a pizza. That's what I'm doing for my sister. And then for us, I'm just freezing the actual like sourdough flatbreads themselves. You could also just freeze store-bought naans. I actually do that really often as well. So basically you make sourdough flatbread dough, section it out, roll it into circular shapes, and then cook it 2 minutes per side. And that's it. So it is kind of time consuming because you do have to roll out all these little balls, and I did triple the recipe. And then you do have to cook them, and my pan's not huge, but they're so worth it. They're so good. So I just take it, since I was only doing a handful for my sister, I just did it in the same skillet, and in order to melt the cheese, I just covered it and cooked it on a low heat. So that's what I did, but it would be a lot easier if you're making more at once to just bake them in the oven. That's what I'll do for our family when we eat them again. Since I did triple the recipe, we are going to have some in our freezer as well. So this is how I like to store it, and I just freeze it in portions that are ready for us for dinner. And then I also had some on this night as well. But I love this recipe. I'll link it down below. It's 5 points per sourdough flatbread. Thanks for watching this and coming along in the kitchen with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did enjoy it. It really does help my channel. And I'll be back here again soon. Bye.